Ever imagined wrestling with God all night long just to receive a blessing that would change your life and the lives of your descendants? Today, on today's story, you'll witness the journey of a man who was born gripping his brother's heel, determined to win. His life was marked by deception, promises, and challenges, all leading up to a life-changing encounter with God. Isaac, the heir to the divine promise made to Abraham, the father of faith, faced a serious family challenge. His wife, Rebekah, couldn't have children, but in an act of faith, Isaac prayed to the Lord, and his prayer was answered. Rebekah became pregnant. At first, it seemed like a straightforward blessing, but soon things got mysterious. Something unusual was happening. Intense movements inside. Her womb left her anxious. Seeking answers, Rebekah turned to the Lord. The response she received was as powerful as it was cryptic. God revealed to her that two nations were forming inside her womb. Two people who would separate, and the older would serve the younger. When the time came, Rebekah gave birth to twins. The firstborn, red-haired and covered in hair, was named Esau. But right behind him, holding onto his heel as if refusing to be left behind, came Jacob. And so, the brothers were born, two men whose lives would shape the destiny of an entire people. As the years passed, Esau and Jacob grew up, revealing completely opposite personalities. Esau, a man of the wild, became a skilled hunter, while Jacob preferred the quiet life of the tents. Isaac had a soft spot for Esau, especially since he loved the wild game his eldest son brought home. But Rebekah, always observant, had a stronger affection for Jacob. One day, after returning from the field starving, Esau found Jacob cooking a mouth-watering stew. Desperate, he begged for food. But Jacob, always the shrewd one, saw an opportunity. He made a bold proposal. "I'll give you food, but in exchange, you have to give me your birthright." Blinded by hunger and impatience, Esau didn't think twice. He swore an oath, handing over something of immense value, his birthright, all for a simple bowl of stew. He ate, drank, and walked away, completely unaware of the magnitude of his decision. Years later, Isaac, now old and nearly blind, felt the weight of time. Before passing away, he wanted to bless Esau, his firstborn, with the blessing that would define his future and his descendants' fate. So he asked Esau to prepare a special meal from his hunt so he could eat and bless him before he died. But Rebekah heard everything. Without hesitation, she rushed to Jacob and convinced him to deceive his father. With the meal prepared in haste, Jacob disguised himself in Esau's clothes and even covered his arms with animal skin to mimic his hairy brother. Isaac was skeptical at first. The voice sounded like Jacob's, but the hands felt like Esau's. In the end, Isaac was convinced. And so he pronounced the blessing that changed everything. Jacob would be the lord over his brothers, and nations would bow before him. Moments later, Esau arrived, ready for his blessing. But Isaac trembled violently and said, "Your brother came in deceit and took your blessing." Furious, Esau cried out, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? He has deceived me twice. First, he took my birthright, and now my blessing." From that moment, Esau's anger turned into a burning hatred for Jacob. He vowed to kill his brother. Fearing for Jacob's life, Rebekah urged him to flee to her brother Laban's house in Haran until Esau's rage cooled down. And so, Jacob left everything behind and set off on a long journey, far from his home and family. That night, he found himself alone in a desolate place. With nothing but a stone for a pillow, he drifted off to sleep. And then, he had a dream. An incredible vision. A staircase stretched from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. And standing near him was the Lord himself, reaffirming the promises made to Abraham and Isaac. "This land where you rest will be yours and your descendants. They will spread in all directions and bless all the families of the earth. And I will be with you, protect you, and bring you back to this place." Awaking in awe, Jacob realized this place was holy. He declared, "This is none other than the house of God, the very gate of heaven." He took the stone he had used as a pillow and set it up as a pillar, naming the place Bethel. There he made a vow of faithfulness to the Lord. Jacob continued his journey eastward, eventually arriving at a well in the fields, where he saw shepherds gathering with their flocks. Curious, he asked where they were from. To his surprise, they replied, "We're from Haran, the land of Laban, your mother's brother." As they spoke, they pointed to a young woman approaching with her flock. Her name was Rachel. Jacob immediately sprang into action. He rolled away the heavy stone covering the well and gave water to Rachel's sheep. Overcome with emotion, he kissed her and wept, revealing that he was her relative. Rachel ran home to tell her father, and soon Jacob was warmly welcomed into Laban's household. After a month of staying with them, Laban made him an offer. "What do you want as your wages?" Jacob, already madly in love with Rachel, made his decision. He would work 7 years in exchange for her hand in marriage. 7 years passed like mere days because of his love for Rachel. When the time came, a great wedding feast was held. But the next morning, Jacob woke up to a shock. It wasn't Rachel beside him, but her sister Leah. Furious, Jacob confronted Laban, who calmly explained that in their land, the eldest daughter had to marry first. Laban made another deal. Jacob could marry Rachel too, but he'd have to work another 7 years. Deeply in love, Jacob agreed. From then on, his household grew, filled with tension between Leah, Rachel, and their servants, who also bore him children. Eventually, God blessed Rachel with a son, Joseph, and later, Benjamin. Jacob also prospered in wealth, using his skills to outsmart Laban and grow his own flocks. But over time, he realized that Laban wasn't as friendly as before. Then, God spoke to him. "Go back to your homeland. I will be with you." So Jacob took his family, servants, and flocks and left in secret. Laban chased after him, but God warned him in a dream not to harm Jacob. In the end, they made a peace pact, and Jacob was free to continue. But another challenge lay ahead: Esau. Fearful of revenge, Jacob sent gifts ahead to appease him and prayed for God's protection. That night, Jacob found himself alone by the Jabbok River. There, an unknown man appeared, and the two engaged in an intense all-night struggle. As dawn approached, the stranger touched Jacob's hip, dislocating it. Yet Jacob refused to let go. "I won't let you go unless you bless me." The man asked his name, then declared, "You are no longer Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and men and have prevailed." The next morning, Jacob met Esau. To his surprise, his brother welcomed him with forgiveness and tears. The rivalry ended, and Jacob's journey continued, fulfilling God's promises. And if you made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our video on Abraham. See you next time.